Hey guys, it's Hayes with CheatSheetPros.com. Today we're going to take a look at our college football best bets from week 12. So taking a look at last week's article, how did we do? Well, we ended up going 5-1 against the spread. Iowa State lost for us. Texas Tech played a really great game, but then we rolled it with Houston, Georgia, Oklahoma State, Wisconsin, and Air Force were all easy winners. So didn't really have any feedback there. Had a really good week. I think betting I ended up at like 12-2 or 12-3 on all the games I went with the cheat sheet. So what I'm going to do now is we're going to go ahead and we've got our point-wise sheets that shows us all of our data, game stats, game logs, and then our college football betting sheet. And so I'm going to run through it and show you what I like, what I don't like. We're going to go ahead and hit on my 5 favorite games this week. So the first one, let's go ahead and get started, is going to be Michigan at Maryland. So you can see this game right here. PFF, who's very conservative, has it at -23. Our algorithm has it at -21. Vegas is only laying 15, so that was the first flag that kind of jumped out at me. And then right here's the main point. Michigan has the 7th ranked defense, allowing only 300 yards per game. And then Maryland's the 102nd rated defense, allowing 442 yards per game. And so we've got this projected at 38-17 for a final score. So Michigan winning by 21. So I'm going to go ahead and lay the 15 here. I don't see anything that jumps out at me of concern. If you go back and look at recent games, everything's going to point to the same way. And I love the yard per point advantage here for Michigan at 12.7 versus 18.1 of Maryland. Plus, this 18.1 is probably going to struggle a little bit against that Michigan defense. So again, we've got it 38-17. Go ahead, take Michigan and lay the points. The next one is going to be Minnesota, another road team, which is kind of scary, at Indiana. So PFF has this at around -23, -24 for Minnesota. We've got it at -11. So I was kind of curious to see what the line would be. I figured it would be somewhere between 10 and 14, but the Vegas line released at -7 for Minnesota. So I like laying the touchdown here. You can see the plus-minus for Indiana is -19.6, meaning they are averaging 14.4 points per game while giving up 34 points per game. So they are completely upside down. The YPP, which is our yard per point number, league average again is, I put it in here, 17.2 or, oh, here it is. Sorry, 15.5. So you can see Minnesota is better than league average on offense at 14.4, but then Indiana is the complete opposite. They're one of the worst teams at 21.0. And again, the defense here, we've got the number 6th rated defense versus the 121st rated offense. So this right here is the one thing that jumps out at me. Indiana's averaging only 300 yards per game, and then Minnesota defense only giving up 296 yards per game. So this number is going to get driven down. So we project them for about 269 yards. And then on the other side, Minnesota hasn't been great on offense. They've been decent at 366, but Indiana's given up almost 400. So we project them to have a little bit of an advantage to about 400 yards. And that gives them about a 155-point edge, and they only need to make up 1 touchdown, which is very easy to do. So we like Minnesota in the defense to lay the 7 points here. As far as looking at recent games, Indiana just got beat by Rutgers 38-3, and they were a touchdown favorite. And then they got beat 29-7 against a good Michigan team. And then Indiana last week, they only managed what I have here, 262 total yards of offense with 6 turnovers. And then they're facing Minnesota, who's a much better defense this week. So we like Minnesota to cover it. We've got this score at 30-16, so that's going to be our best bet number 2. Going on to best bet number 3, we've got Georgia Tech at Notre Dame. Finally, a home team. So this is our best bet number 3 that we like. So you can see here, PFF has this drastically different than Vegas. They've got it at -30. We have it at -20. We're a little bit closer. Vegas has this game right now at 17. And then the defenses here are completely different. You can see Georgia Tech's 114th, giving up 468 yards per game. Notre Dame is 44th, allowing only 361 yards per game. As far as the power rankings, Georgia Tech has a power ranking of 41, while Notre Dame sits at a massive 60. So one generic way to come up with a line is just the difference between the two power rankings plus the home field advantage. So if you do the difference between those two, that's 19. And then if you give Notre Dame 2 or 3 points, that's 20 or 21. So 17, you're getting a bit of a discount there. So I like that. And then looking at last week's game, Notre Dame played Virginia, who had a power ranking of 47, and they dismantled them 28-3 with a 23-17 first down edge, 423 to 278 yard total edge, and they rushed for 249 yards. Now, on the other side of the ball, last week, Georgia Tech faced Boston College, who sits with a power rank of only 44 compared to Notre Dame at 60, and they allowed them to go for 505 total yards, 26 first downs, and gave up 41 points. So Notre Dame has the ability to make this game a blowout in front of their home crowd. If you like betting trends, Georgia Tech is 1-4, 1-4-1 ATS in their last 6 games, and Notre Dame is 7-1 ATS in their last 8 games, and 5-0 in their last 5. Notre Dame also has a 62-9 point edge over the opponents over the last 2 games. So I like Notre Dame here laying the 17. I think that's a no-brainer, and we're going to go ahead and roll with it. Game number 4 that we like is South Alabama traveling to Tennessee. Now, there's always one game each week. So many E's and S's in this damn thing that kind of jumps out, that's on the lower end, that doesn't get a lot of discussion, a lot of people don't talk about. And for me this week, it's Tennessee. So the one thing that jumps out when I'm looking at the sheet, now the line on this is Tennessee minus 28. So if you look at this, you say, oh, PFF has it 11. We've got it at 25. Boom, move on. Well, you really have to dig into the numbers and understand what some of the stats are. So right here, this played strength of schedule, South Alabama 128th. So they've played a weak schedule, and they're barely winning games. Tennessee's played the 7th hardest schedule, and they are also barely winning games. So this strength of schedule, and I've got it at minus 25. Well, looking at the strength of schedule played, I'm easily going to go ahead and lay the 28 here. And looking at the stats, the first thing that jumps out at me is the defense. South Alabama is 15th. Oh, sorry. Don't look at the stats on this one. I was incorrect. If you look at our projected score, we got it 32-23, but the problem is you can't twist this number enough to account for the played strength of schedule. It is drastically different. So let's go ahead and take a look at Tennessee here. See, let's go find. So we're going to flip down here. We're going to look at Tennessee. So Tennessee last week against Georgia, they put up 387 total yards, 22 first downs, and 17 points. That's not bad. Georgia is one of the top 2 defenses along with Wisconsin. So I will take that any day of the week. Now we flip down here. Let's get past all this, get down to Tennessee. Okay, so now we got Tennessee over here. Let me make sure you can see that on your screen. So look at Tennessee's last 4 games. These are ridiculous. They played Georgia, Kentucky, Alabama, and Mississippi. So those are tough teams. They still managed to put up 26, 24, 45, and 17 points. And they played 2 top 5 defenses, and Kentucky's a pretty good defense. They did give up a bunch of points, but these are elite offenses that they're facing. Alabama, Georgia, Mississippi is really good on offense this year. Kentucky's been able to rack up some points and turn into a shootout. So the numbers here are skewed, and I mean, Alabama and Georgia, that's just ridiculous. 2 of their last 3 games against 2 top 5 teams. But then you go over here and let's look at South Alabama. And where did you go? Scroll down here. Okay, here we are. So here's South Alabama. So they played App State, who they lost 31-7. I'd say that's the closest thing they've played compared to Tennessee, but I think Tennessee's better than Appalachian State. And they still lost this game by, they got blown out pretty much, but Tennessee's a better offense. And Troy, I mean, they're a nobody. I think their power ranking is 34. They got beat 31-24. They beat Arkansas State, but they have a power ranking of only 24. And then LA Monroe, who has a power ranking of only 21, they lost 41-31. So what jumps out at me here is LA Monroe, as bad as they are, they put up 41 points on South Alabama. And then Troy, as bad as they are, they put up 31 points on South Alabama. What do you think Tennessee is going to do after they face Georgia and Alabama? And now they're going to come in and face this know-nothing South Alabama school. I mean, this has blowout written all over it. Now, the numbers and the stats don't like it, but this is one, if you look into the stats, you look into the game logs, I think Tennessee can roll this game. 28's a lot, but again, when we get into the low 30s, that's where I kind of shy away, but 28 is easily done, and I think Tennessee can blow this open against South Alabama. Now, best bet number 5 that I like, and I struggled on the 5th game because there were a bunch that we'll talk about here in a minute that I considered. So, Wake Forest at Clemson. So, this game right here, we've got it at 3.3 for PFF and then -5 for our algo. Wake Forest is catching 4.5 points, and this is a classic matchup of a good offense against a good defense, looking at these two, and a bad offense versus a bad defense. So, one of these things is going to give. Over here, Wake Forest is scoring 45.1 points per game, and then Clemson's only scoring 21 points per game. So Clemson has been awful on offense, even though they've been better as of late. But Wake Forest is just lighting up the scoreboard. So our projected model on this has it 27-26, so really close. So I'm going to grab the 4.5 points here with Wake Forest. And when we go down here and we look at the Wake Forest recent games, this is one I wanted to show you guys. Scroll down. All right, here, so Wake Forest. So North Carolina State, 45-42. North Carolina, 55-58. They beat Duke 45-7. Army, they put up 70, 170-56. So in their last 4 games, they've put up 45, 55, 45, 70, and 40 points. They are putting up an absolute ton of points. Clemson, although they are really good on defense, I like these teams that can air the ball out. So you can see here, Wake Forest, the majority of their yards are coming through the air. And even though Clemson's a good defense, Wake Forest is always going to be in this game. It's hard for me to see them getting blown out with as much as they do. And then Clemson, you can see they went on a big poor streak here, losing a ton of games in a row. And then they beat Florida State 30-20. They beat Louisville 30-24. UConn, they're a know-nothing 44-7. So for the 5th game, I like grabbing 4.5 here with Wake Forest. And other than that, we're going to go ahead and get out of here and cut this video short. Have a good day, guys.